redeemed, rehabilitated, and real entertaining. This is the Carl Jackson Podcast.
Welcome to today's edition of the Carl Jackson Show podcast. I'm here to tell you that we cannot take the Biden administration lightly headed into 2024. And I'm going to tell you that he is the odds-on favorite to be the Democratic nominee heading into 2024, despite his age, despite his health. I mean, we're all witnessing it take place right in front of our eyes. It's obvious the guy is a dementia patient. It's obvious that his cognitive abilities are not there. But the problem is the Democrat Party does not have serious challengers. So I'm going to talk to you about this and more coming up on this edition of the Carl Jackson Show podcast. Please stay tuned for some quick program messaging, and we will be right back. All right, guys, welcome back to the Carl Jackson Show podcast. I appreciate you tuning in today. I want to encourage you to please subscribe to the Carl Jackson Show podcast. Just go to thecarljacksonshow.com or anywhere you go to get your podcast, Apple, Google, Spotify, or please also you can join us on Rumble and YouTube. We're at The Carl Jackson Show on Rumble and YouTube. And if you want to follow me on social media, if you would, please follow me on social media. Please just find me at The Carl Jackson Show. Getter, Twitter, True Social, Facebook, you name it. Wherever you go to find me, you will find me at The Carl Jackson Show. Quickly, I want to tell you about Big George Foreman, the movie from Affirm Film comes Big George Foreman. It's the miraculous story of the once and future heavyweight champion of the world, George Foreman. It's based on the true story of one of the greatest comebacks of all time and the transformational power of second chances. Big George Foreman, starring Chris Davis and Academy Award winner Forrest Whitaker, is rated PG-13, so it may be inappropriate for children under the age of 13. Only in theaters beginning on April 28th. That is this Friday. For tickets and showtimes, go to BigGeorgeForeman.movie, BigGeorgeForeman.movie, BigGeorgeForeman.movie. Okay, guys, I want to play this video, and I know some of you have watched this video or heard this video, but I want to break it down. I want to debunk the lies that are in Joe Biden's re-election video. So we're going to play it right away, and I'm going to fact check at least 4 claims for you real quick. And then I want to go on to explain why Joe Biden, we cannot take the Biden administration lightly because there's a Democratic apparatus behind him. Some people are wondering how the heck or why the heck would this guy announce that he's running for re-election? I mean, he's too old. It's obvious that he's frail. It's obvious that his cognitive abilities are absolutely gone and toast. Well, he can win. He can win the Democratic primary, and he still believes that he's the best challenge to former President Trump, who is currently leading in the Republican polls. Don't know if Trump will be the nominee, but he is the odds-on favorite, just like Biden is the odds-on favorite. So let's first do this. Let's go straight to the video, Gabe, and let's start debunking this. Gabe is going to keep his fingers on the trigger because we're going to stop and debunk this nonsense claim by claim. So let's get the video rolling, and I want to brace you because if you haven't seen the video, please, again, go to our YouTube page, thecarljacksonshow.com, thecarljacksonshow.com. Already, remember, the left is all about emotions. It's all about emotions. It isn't about policy. They emote. They want to draw out the emotions of their voters because their policies stink, frankly. Their policies don't work. I mean, right now we have another bank, the First Republic Bank, that is absolutely collapsing. The economy is in shambles. Crime is just skyrocketed under Democratic leadership across the country. They do not want to talk about those issues. Inflation, people struggling to pay their bills, higher grocery prices, so on, etc. They don't want to talk about that. They want to stay away from those issues, but they want to continue to make you mad at the Republican Party, and they want you to believe that all Republicans are evil, all Republicans are violent. So this video will start off, and I'm just bracing you, images of J6 protesters as if that has anything to do with your life. All right, the Capitol riot of January 6th. Mostly peaceful protesters. By some accounts, upwards of 1 million people were there. You get a few hundred people that go into the Capitol building, cause a ruckus, and out of 200 or so people, 1 million people are bad. I mean, it's absolute and utter nonsense. but this is what they do. This is what the left is about. It's about pure emotion. Also, they bring up the issue of the pro-abortion issue. You'll notice that at the beginning of the video. All right. And you'll see people protesting in front of the Supreme Court, but they don't remind you, obviously, of the fact that you had an assassin from the left that wanted, or a man that wanted to assassinate Brett Kavanaugh showed up at his home with weaponry, a gun, rope, I believe a knife, all this kind of stuff. You're not going to see that in the video. Of course, these people incite violence, but they want their voters to believe that we are the violent ones and they are the virtuous ones. Also, Jill Biden, First Lady Jill Biden, and VP Kamala Harris are very prominent in this video in the beginning. So we'll run this video and then we'll cut out the some of the nonsense, debunk some of the nonsense. Cutting Social Security is one. Standing up for the right to vote is another issue in this video. Banning books. They accuse the right, those of us on the right, of banning books. And he talks about how Biden does, how freedom is fundamental. We know that's a lie. So we will talk about all of that. But here's the video. Gabe, let's go ahead and run it, and we'll debunk these lies one at a time.
Freedom, personal freedom is fundamental to who we are as Americans. There's nothing more important, nothing more sacred. That's been the work of my first term, to fight for our democracy. This shouldn't be a red or blue issue. To protect our rights, to make sure that everyone in this country is treated equally and that everyone is given a fair shot at making it. But you know, around the country, MAGA extremists are lining up to take on those bedrock freedoms. Cutting Social Security that you paid for your entire life while cutting taxes for the very wealthy. Dictating what health care decisions women can make. Banning books and telling people who they can love. All while making it more difficult for you to be able to vote.
Let's stop the tape. All right. So one of the things that I want to address right away, and he's already touched on almost all of these issues, standing up for the right to vote, banning books. He talked about how freedom is fundamental, and he started with how freedom is fundamental. Okay. If this guy believes that freedom is fundamental, he wouldn't be taking away your ability to be able to vote on legislative issues and handing those powers to the federal bureaucracy. Listen to these stats. In the first 2 years of Biden's administration, he's imposed 517 regulatory actions at an economic cost of $318 billion. This according to the Wall Street Journal. All right. So now, what does it mean? Every time a federal executive or the president of the United States, they enact a regulation, that means that they take the voter out of the process completely. So you have no say-so in your own federal government. So if freedom is fundamental, then Biden wouldn't be participating in this. And he also wouldn't be locking J6 protesters up or demanding that J6 protesters be locked up without in holding them without them being able to see a judge or have a trial and just sitting. They can't even get probation. Now, I don't care. Or not probation. They can't even get bailed out, many of them. I don't care where you fall on the political spectrum. That is un-American. So just listen to these stats real quick. So if this guy really believes that freedom is fundamental, he's again enacted 517 regulatory actions, meaning he's gone around Congress. Obama didn't. Here's what Obama did. Obama administration imposed 740 regulations in their first 2 years at a cost of $208 billion. So economically speaking, Biden has already outpaced Obama, albeit not when it comes to regulations. The Trump administration, for deregulation, imposed 1,340 rules at a cost of $64.7 billion over 4 years. So Trump is the only one that deregulated the federal government, meaning he gave powers back to the legislature and to you. So when he says that freedom is fundamental, we know right off the bat that is a complete and utter lie, because this is a guy that is imposing regulation at will. This is a guy that thinks he's a king and not the president of the United States of America. Go ahead and roll the tape. Por favor, Gabe. Oh, that's so sweet. Kamala Harris and Joe Biden acting like they get along.
When I ran for president 4 years ago, I said we're in a battle for the soul of America, and we still are. The question we're facing is whether in the years ahead we have more freedom or less freedom, more rights or fewer. I know what I want the answer to be, and I think you do too. This is not a time to be complacent. That's why I'm running for re-election. Because I know America. I know we're good and decent people. I know we're still a country that believes in honesty and respect and treating each other with dignity.
Oh, so uplifting.
We're a nation where we give hate no safe harbor. We believe that everyone is equal, that everyone should be given a fair shot to succeed in this country.
Thank you for choosing
Implying that Republicans don't believe everyone is equal.
Every generation of Americans has faced a moment when they have to defend democracy. Stand up for our personal freedom. Stand up for the right to vote and our civil rights.
They think they're in the 60s.
And this is our moment.
We, the people, will not be silent.
So if you're with me, go to joebiden.com and sign up. Let's finish this job. I know we can. Because this is the United States of America. There's nothing, simply nothing we cannot do if we do it together.
Oh my goodness. Let's finish the job. Let's finish the job of destroying America. All right. So a couple of more things that I want to cover. I want to fact check in this video. So one of the things that he mentioned in the video is they wanted to cut Social Security. Well, is that true? No, that isn't true. As a matter of fact, we're headed up to the debt limit battle, or we're in the debt limit battle. And Speaker Kevin McCarthy from California has already said that cutting Social Security and cutting Medicare is off the table. He said that numerous times. He's trying to work with Joe Biden in good faith. And Biden has said that if a bill comes to his desk in order to slow down spending, even though the Republican Party is willing to meet him halfway, if you will, they're willing to increase the debt limit by $1.5 trillion, but they want to limit some of the other spending. They want to go back to 2022 levels. Joe Biden has said he will veto that bill. But again, in their bill to continue to fund the government, no threats, no talk of cutting Social Security or Medicare whatsoever. So he completely lied about that. He says that he wants to stand up for the right to vote. All right. So the Democratic Party wants you to believe that we're still living in the 1960s and that there's still people being cheated out of the right to vote. Remember, there was a big hoo-ha in the state of Georgia last year. There was a bunch of nonsense. I just want to give you some stats scrolling through my phone if I can find this. But basically, all right. So there was a report earlier this month by Hans von Spakovsky. He's a manager of the Election Law and Reform Initiative at the Heritage Foundation. So 2022 turnout in Georgia, Texas, and Florida, the three states that were most targeted by the left over their election reforms in 2021. And by election reforms, it means they wanted people to have voter ID. They wanted to make sure that when voters weren't in line, there weren't people from either party trying to what's the word that I'm looking for? Trying to bribe voters in line. Hey, you want a bottle of water? You want a blah, blah, blah? Make sure you vote for such and such and such, etc. No, bring your own doggone water to the voting poll and all that kind of stuff. So that stuff is, I guess, in the Democrats' mind, if you have to show voter ID, that's cheating somehow, because you shouldn't be able to identify who you are in order to perform your most your biggest civic responsibility, and that is voting. Yet you do need an ID for a driver's license. You do need ID if you want to get buy cigarettes, buy beer, get medicinal marijuana. You need a photo ID for all of that stuff, purchase a firearm, so on, etc. But in order to perform your biggest civic duty in voting, no voter ID. No voter ID. But here's the problem. Compared to previous midterm elections, both in Florida, Georgia, and Texas, midterm elections, the turnout was 5% higher in Georgia in 2022 than in 2018. 2% higher in Texas. It did drop 2% from 2018 to 2022 in Florida, but more people did vote, actually. It was weird. According to data from the U.S. Elections Project, still, Florida had the 18th highest turnout in the nation, down from 16th in 2018. So national voter turnout average now, that they're comparing a midterm election to a presidential election. So the vote is always going to be down. So I see what they're doing, but still, that's minimal. So national voter turnout averaged 46.6% in 2022, while in Florida, it was 49.4%. 49.4%. I guess the argument is turnout only dropped by 2% from 2018 to 2022. Pretty amazing. Okay, so of the states that passed election reforms in 2021, Georgia was the most maligned. Biden and other Democrats claim the changes were for voter suppression. You guys might remember that argument, but here are the stats. And Biden labeled, you guys remember this, Jim Crow 2.0, Jim Eagle, all of this stuff. The University of Georgia Survey Research Center polls showed, however, that voters in 2022 found that 72.6% of Black Georgians said their experience was excellent. 23.6% said it was good. 0% of Blacks, the place where the Democrats and Joe Biden said there was voter expression, Jim Crow 2.0 going on in Jim Eagle. Not only did more Blacks vote in that particular election, but 0% of Blacks reported experiencing even a poor experience while voting. Similarly, the percentage of white voters in Georgia, 72.7%, called their 2022 voting experience excellent. The university's survey also found that 19.1% of Black Georgia voters said voting was easier in 2022 than it was in 2020, while 72.5% said there was no difference. But nearly 21% said voting was easier in 2022, the year of the voter suppression, so to speak. Among white voters, 13.3% said that thought it was easier to vote. 80.1% said there was no difference. So Biden previously called Texas election reforms wrong and un-American. An assault on democracy is what he said. In 2018, before these late reforms were in place, according to the U.S. Elections Project, 45.6% or 4.4 percentage points below the national turnout rate occurred in 2022. That same organization showed that 42.5% came out, a decrease of 3.1 percentage points, which was smaller than the national decrease of 3.4 percentage points. They just lie. Now on the issue of voting books or banning books, there is no ban to vote. There is no ban for books, and what they're primarily trying to do is attack Republicans. They're trying to attack Governor Ron DeSantis. What we did in the state of Florida isn't banning books, and a lot of books weren't even taken out of the library like they claim. But what's happening in Florida is we just said that kids cannot read pornographic books in schools. That's it. K through third grade at the time. Hey, no sexual stuff. So they're saying that's banning books. So the perverts on the Democrat Party, Joe Biden, the pervert himself, who likes sniffing the hair of little children, doesn't want pornographic books banned in Florida. And they're not banned. They're just banned in schools. Children cannot see the books. And so the little pervert wants to turn that around so that more kids will be able to sniff them now, or he can sniff more kids like he did his daughter in the shower. Oops, did I say that? Yes, I did. All right, let me just real quickly, because I have a couple of more ads to read, and I want to go through why Joe Biden will win. More than likely, he will win the nomination, despite the fact that he's old and decrepit and completely senile. All right, but before I do that, guys, I do want to talk to you about a couple of my sponsors for the day. One is Pardoned by Grace, the movie. You need to feel inspired. Things are getting a little cray-cray here in the United States. So from the makers of Graham Family Films comes a powerful and inspiring true story that's going to touch your heart and renew your faith. All right. We all need that right now. Lord knows we are in a battle of good and evil. It's not Republican versus Democrat. We are literally experiencing the battle of good and evil. And it's not a partisan battle. It is literally an ideological and a spiritual battle that we're facing in the United States of America. I want you guys to see this film, Pardoned by Grace. So introducing Pardoned by Grace, the incredible journey of Scott Heiberger. He's played by actor Joey Lawrence, a convicted criminal. That turns prison minister who defies all the odds and receives an unlikely pardon to continue his ministry on the outside. Featuring Grammy Award-winning singer and songwriter Michael W. Smith as Heiberger's pastor, Pardoned by Grace showcases the transformative power of redemption and the boundless reach of God's love. You can watch Pardoned by Grace on Salem Now, and when you purchase a copy at salemnow.com, a portion of the DVDs purchased, a portion of that will go to benefit Scott Heiberger's nonprofit prison organization, which is called Behind the Wire Ministries. It provides hope and support to the incarcerated. So together we can share the power of faith and forgiveness with those who need it most. Please visit salemnow.com, salemnow.com, salemnow.com. Purchase your DVD and donate to this incredible cause today. Also, I want to talk to you about mypillow.com. Guys, you guys know the Patriot, Mike Lindell. Well, he's come out with a new product. It's called My Pillow 2.0. It has the same patented adjusted feel or adjusted patented feel as the original My Pillow, but it has this new outer layer, this regulated thread on the outside now that dissipates heat. It makes the pillow softer and smoother and cooler when you lay your head down, which is, I mean, if you could imagine a better pillow than the original My Pillow, I couldn't, but Mike Lindell has pulled it off. Listen, all of the new fabric is 100% in that technology, 100% made in the US of A. American jobs, American manufacturing. And on top of all of that, this is a buy one, get one free, you heard me, the F word, free pillow. All right, so you get two. All you have to do is go to mypillow.com. Go there now, mypillow.com. Click on the radio listener square at the top of the page. Enter my name, Carl, C-A-R-L. Or if you prefer, please give them a call, 800-858-0263, 800-858-0263 to take advantage of your deal and get that extra My Pillow, the buy one, get one free offer. You're going to love these pillows. 10-year warranty, 60-day money-back guarantee. You cannot beat that with a bat. MyPillow.com. Use my name, Carl, or give them a call, 800-858-0263. All right, now, let's get to the decrepit old man that could still potentially become the president. And guys, don't take this lightly. Don't take this lightly. I know a lot of you guys are thinking there is no way on God's green earth that this man can win the presidency again in 2024. It is not possible, Carl. This guy is virtually on crutches. This guy needs to be fed malto meal every single day at lunch, and breakfast. And he needs to go, nap or nighty night at 6 p.m. or whatever. Don't think for a second that the left won't use him in order to continue to advance their agenda like they've done in the previous years and like they're doing now. Like they're doing with John Fetterman, or Senator John Fetterman. I can't believe I'm saying that. Like they're doing with Senator Dianne Feinstein. They don't see, the left doesn't care about people. They care about power. And that's what you have to recognize. So this from CNN.com, guys, I read the lefties so that you don't have to. But I got to tell you, there are some very smart people on the left and some very politically savvy people on the left. And I'm going to tell you about one of them. One of them worked for Obama. You guys may remember, excuse me, you guys may remember David Axelrod. He was the chief of staff under President Obama. I can't remember how long he stayed there. Very smart guy. He's a businessman and a political analyst. Very, very smart guy. Very far to the left, but very smart guy. And he wrote a column at CNN.com that says, if Biden's so unpopular, why isn't any Democrat posing a serious challenge? Now, I will say this about David Axelrod in all fairness. This guy has attacked Joe Biden, some of his policies, some of the things that he was doing, and questioning why he was even in office. So he's been, as far as the left is concerned, he's been dishing it out. He's been fair when it comes to Joe Biden. He's one of the lefties that actually I don't mind reading because, excuse me, I'm sorry, guys. Even though I totally disagree with him, I ate something earlier that I shouldn't have eaten, and it is messing with my esophagus. So don't eat spicy stuff for breakfast. That's a lesson on today's on today's show. All right, but this guy's a very smart guy, and he's very smart when it comes to strategy. All right. Obviously, he helped get Biden or Obama elected twice when Obama should have lost his second term. Unfortunately, we put up Romney, and we thought that was a good idea. Very bad idea. I did, and I picked other people in the primary, but ultimately I voted for Mitt Romney and Paul Ryan. And at the time, I was excited for it because I was like, listen, we were going down the far left-wing trap, spending tons of money, and I thought that Mitt Romney and Paul Ryan at the time would bring the economy back and all this kind of stuff, stop the excessive spending. But they were very bad and weak candidates. Hindsight is 2020, but we found this out quickly thereafter those elections. But going back to Axelrod, this guy is very politically savvy. He knows of what he speaks. He is one guy that I read along with a gentleman by the name of Roy. I believe it's Roy Teixeira. He's a Hispanic guy, and he talks about the Latino vote big time within the Democrat Party and some of the cultural issues that Democrats are missing on. These guys are very great writers. Actually, it's not Roy. It's like Rye or Rui, R-U-Y. But anyway, good writers. Good strategists, very smart people on the left. And you got to be able to read them or willing to read them to know what's going on. So listen, he breaks this stuff down, why Biden is likely going to be the Democratic nominee. So Biden's job approval ratings right now are in the low 40s, and his polling against independents doesn't look good. They're sitting in the mid 20s and mid 30s. So we're sitting here thinking, hey, based on that alone, he can't get reelected, right? Because we're heading up into the election season. The primaries are going to be, they're going to be approaching relatively quickly once the battles really get started. So traditionally, a president that's polling this low, if he's in the mid 40s or low 40s, and then just polling, depending on which poll you look at, in the 20s and 30s, heading into an election season, that's traditionally not good. That's a red flag, right, for any incumbent, not just for the president, but for any incumbent who wants to be reelected. But now, progressives within the Democrat Party think that Biden has a significant body of achievements on which to run on. Now, we don't agree with that, but the left does. Now, you have to understand the left. Like we think that Biden is a complete and utter failure. But if you're a left-wing radical, if you're a progressive, you're actually very impressed at the progress that the Biden administration, and notice I say Biden administration, has been able to pull off, because you know that Biden is lucid. For a second, he may be able to say what he wants to do. And then once he blanks out after being awake for 30 minutes in the early morning, his staff takes over and they run the country. Let's face it. We all know that to be the case. All right. But people that are progressives are impressed, and the Democratic Party has been co-opted by the far left. And so a lot of them are actually impressed with Biden. This is hard for us to fathom on the right. I get it, but it's true. Now, the article goes on to say, but continued concerns about the economy and his age and capacities. Obviously, he would be 82 years of age at the time of his second inauguration, have bogged him down, right? So people are looking at him. You can even hear him slurring a little bit on those in that reelection video. I mean, he starts off the video saying, freedom. I mean, he could barely get the word freedom out, for God's sakes. But it doesn't matter, because the Democrat Party, they're not concerned about people. They're concerned about power. And if they have to use a guy that's in and out of his mind all day long in order to advance their left-wing radical agenda and to fundamentally transform America, wipe out our Judeo-Christian value system, completely wipe out the Constitution, they'll use whomever they want. Now, here's some stats within the Democratic circle. So around 8 in 10 approve of the job that Biden is doing. Did you just hear that? When polled among Democrats, 8 in 10 approve of the job that Biden is doing. But less than half say they want him to run again. So they approve of the job he's doing, but they look at him and he's old, he's feeble. We don't want him to run again. These people don't even realize that he's destroying the economy. And that's in large part because we have a mainstream media that will not report the truth. I mean, look at what happened to Tucker Carlson, the best truth teller in all of cable news, being scapegoated, if you will. And both the left and the establishment right are having a heyday, a party. They're loving it. Says a lot, doesn't it? It says a whole lot. And listen to this. 44% say they believe he's the party's strongest candidate. You got Gavin Newsom out there. Who else do you have out there? Oh, hardly anybody. So 44% say they believe he's still the strongest candidate. So Biden is all but certain going to be the nominee of his party because why? There's no serious challengers. Right now, you have Robert F. Kennedy Jr. out there. Now, I like Robert F. Kennedy Jr. He's an honest, straight shooter. When you read his book on Fauci, it's obvious that he tilts towards the left. He hates Trump. There's no doubt about it. But he's a truth teller, at least a truth teller as he sees it. He speaks his mind. He's not a fake. He's not a phony. He's more of what would be considered a moderate Democrat. He's not going to get traction. A lot of people are impressed by his polls. He comes right out the gate. He gets 14%. And a lot of people are like, wow, that's amazing. I'm sorry. I don't think that is amazing when you know your top candidate has dementia and you get to see it and watch it every single day. Then you have Marianne Williamson, whom I love being in the debates. She's an absolute and absolute entertaining, let me put it that way, character. I loved seeing her in the debate. She was really fun. She made the Democratic debates fun to me. She has no chance of winning, and we all know that to be true. So now Axelrod opines that barring from unseen circumstances, a presidential stumble, an illness, or a self-funding billionaires yearning to run, no such challenge seems forthcoming. So he doesn't have a great challenger. So is the absence of a real primary challenge simply the luck of the Irish? Now, he uses that term because he was speaking of Biden's trip to Ireland a week or more ago, where Biden had this like hero's welcome. It was the weirdest thing. But no, it isn't the luck of the Irish. It's not the luck of the Irish at all that Biden has that there's an absence of a real primary challenge. You just have, again, you have a very crappy candidate or very crappy candidates. You don't have any real contenders, and never underestimate the power of the incumbency. All right. So that means incumbency is simply a person that's already in office. Why? There's 3 reasons why you never underestimate the power of the incumbency. All right. Or an incumbent, because they have an enormous advantages that discourage challenges. So, presidents have national political and fundraising networks. So they have all of these apparatuses in place, and they have awesome power platform and trappings of the office. So they've got this huge platform. So all of these people that may be running and they want to challenge Biden. And don't forget, the DNC said they're not having primary debates. They're not going to have primary debates. As a matter of fact, Trump is out in the news today. He's saying, I need to pull this up. He's saying that he doesn't want to participate in debates, but he doesn't have that luxury because he's not a president anymore. He is a former president, but he doesn't have that luxury. And he's frustrated with some of the people that have been picked to become or to be a part of the primary, although the RNC is finally getting a little better at that. The problem is the big mistake that Trump made is he had an opportunity to endorse Harmeet Dillon over Ronna McDaniel, and he didn't do it. I'm sorry, that's a huge mistake on Trump's part. So he lost, in my opinion, the moral authority to complain about some of this stuff because he had the opportunity to do something and say, no, I'm sorry, I love Ronna McDaniel. Ronna McDaniel apparently and Trump are good friends. Harmeet Dillon and Trump apparently are good friends, and he said that he liked them both. But the problem is, we have to save the country. And this is one of the things, as much as I love Donald Trump, absolutely frustrates me, is frustrating to me about Donald Trump, because sometimes it isn't about loyalty. Sometimes it is about competency. And we don't have a competent person in Ronna McDaniel running the RNC. There's no way she should be running the RNC. And frankly, if Trump had endorsed Harmeet Dillon, I think Harmeet Dillon would have taken it home. And frankly, it would have been easier for him, in my opinion, to secure the nomination. So that's a little bit frustrating. All right. So I think he kind of lost the moral authority. I'm sorry to say that, but I just think that that's the case. And that's frustrating. Actually, I'm not sorry. That's just the truth. All right. I'm not gonna sit here and kiss. I'm not gonna kiss anybody's butt. I'm gonna sit here and tell you the truth. I am. You know what? Especially after this Tucker Carlson thing, I'm feeling so reinvigorated, if you will, because I'm gonna be the people's person. I'm with the people. You know what I'm saying? Like, I love Trump. I love DeSantis. I love Larry Elder. I love Vivek Ramaswamy. But you know what? I'm with the people. So I see these guys as tools to get us our freedom back, to restore our Judeo-Christian values, to restore constitutional principles. And I want them all to fight for my vote. That's what you should want too, frankly. That's what you should want. I do believe that Trump is the odds-on favorite, but you should all want all of them to fight. All right. So, but now going back to this issue with Biden and why Biden will likely be the nominee for 2024. All right. Again, you never underestimate the power of incumbency. Again, you have a national political. The presidents have national political and fundraising networks. So just fundraising. Think of all the money you're going to need to run nationwide. The president already has that figured out. All he has to do is say go. While other people have to get in the race, try to network, try to figure out who's going to raise money here, who's going to raise money here, who's going to raise. Biden doesn't have to do that. Go. Start doing your job. That's it. That's it. That's powerful. That's powerful to already have that in place. Plus, he has a bully platform. He can speak whenever he wants to, or not in his case, but typically you can speak whenever you want to. Those other people have to vie for attention from the media, have to come up with tricks in some cases. All right. But also the president and incumbents already have control of the party's apparatus, of their operating, privies, if you will. So serious primary challenges have been very rare when it comes to incumbents, particularly the presidency. David Axelrod writes to Pat Buchanan, who challenged former President George W. Bush as a right-wing populist back in 92. And he failed, but it damaged Bush enough, all right, for Bush not to win re-election. He also talks about the late Senator Ted Kennedy, the liberal liar from Massachusetts. He was the most recent candidate to launch it. Those are my words, not Axelrod's. Tricked. Yeah. All right. But anyway, Senator Ted Kennedy of Massachusetts, the most recent candidate, he says, launched a serious challenge that actually threatened the re-election of incumbent president at the time, Jimmy Carter. But it didn't work. All right. Now, Biden's administration has worked hard to stave off primary challenges. This is where Biden has set his team up for success. All right. This is why he will likely be the nominee for the Democrat Party going forward. Carl, we can beat him easy. Don't say that. I got another podcast for you tomorrow. Don't say that. Don't say that. I know we want to believe that it's going to be a cakewalk in 2024. I'm here to tell you it's going to be all hands on deck, because it's going to be anything but a cakewalk in 2024. We've seen the evidence in 2020. We've seen the evidence in 2022 when we thought that we should absolutely run away with the election, and we thought people would be fed up because of supply chain shortages, the economy, so on, et cetera. Nope. Rising crime. Nope. Because Democrats do a good job of making their voters angry at us, finding issues of which to emote on, make them angry at us. And so that they're so angry at us, and we on the right are seen as evil people, they want to do the morally right thing and vote for the people that aren't evil, even if their policies are bad. That's the Democrat Party. All right. So now here's what Biden has done to stave off primary challenges from left-wing radicals. He's quartered them. Biden, actually, his voting record was pretty far left, to be honest, but he wasn't a left-winger per se. He wasn't a radical per se. He was far left, but he wasn't a radical. He wasn't an extremist. So his signature domestic achievement, according to Axelrod, obviously, is the Inflation Reduction Act, which is a joke because inflation has increased with the spending, more spending from the federal government. But it included a number of significant and long-standing progressive goals, an historic package to combat climate change. All right, so basically, it was the mini Green New Deal, a long-sought measure that empowers Medicare to use its huge market leverage to negotiate with pharmaceutical companies. By the way, Trump did this, and he pissed off a lot of those in the pharmaceutical company, which is why they got back at him and didn't announce that they had, in fact, had a vaccine until after the 2020 election was over. Because if they had announced before, like they should have, since they were ready, Trump still, despite shutting down the economy, I think would have walked back into the White House. But the evil punks at these pharmaceutical companies were a bunch of left-wing radicals, wanted to make a bunch more money, and they wanted Trump to lose, frankly, and they succeeded in doing that. Now, you may think, okay, it's great that Medicare, they're coming at it from the wrong angle. All right, good. Medicare is going to control prices. Well, if Medicare control prices, it means that companies are going to go out of business, because just because Medicare says, all right, you can't charge any more than this amount for a drug. Okay, well, if the drug costs me $34.50 to make, but all I can charge is 50 cents for it, I can't afford that. I'm going to go out of business. So I'm not going to sell this drug anymore. I'm not going to create this drug anymore. You see how that happens? However, if you attack the pharmaceuticals, big pharma, and you say, wait a minute, you're charging way too much for this. I know that you guys make it for this much. I think it's acceptable, and it's a good price for you to, you can make a decent profit, and you can help people, or whatever. But your prices are excessive. It's crazy. We need a little more competition. That's the route that Trump was going, and he was able to bring down costs that way. But the government doing it has the opposite effect, right? They shut down businesses instead of encouraging more businesses to make more product and more competition so that prices come down. It's pretty amazing. So Trump was doing that. The pharmaceuticals, big pharma, hated him for it. Also, here's another thing that Biden has done. He's taken several steps to strengthen Obamacare, and the left absolutely loves this. Now, it means that things are going to suck for you and I when you go to the hospital. Make sure that you have insurance, and make sure that you have money. You may have to step aside for the illegal immigrants that are running into emergency rooms across the country. So just understand that. Here's the other things that Biden has done. Union donors, gun control, social issues that are no longer issues. Let me explain that. So Biden also signed a massive infrastructure bill, Axelrod reminds us of, that was favored by the unions, organized labor. The first significant bipartisan gun safety law, gun control in decades. The Respect for Marriage Act, enshrining protections which were already there, same-sex and interracial marriage in federal law. So they basically pretended as if the 1960s were back, because neither of those things were an issue. The Democrats are increasingly focused on so-called anti-abortion rights or abortion rights, the right to kill your baby, and gun control, and that has rallied the base. But I would argue, because a lot of Republicans are concerned about this, it's not necessarily about abortion, it's about mobilization. The left will excite their voters on a particular issue, and then they'll go now with the new rules that they have. They'll either they'll go to college campuses and they'll send out ballots, or they'll go collect ballots. Whatever it do, the left will do whatever they need to do to excite their base, and then they will go meet their base. So you can talk about abortion all day long. You can get young women all hyped up on, yeah, we're pro-choice and so on, etc. But a lot of those young voters, those young women, still won't vote. But if you take ballots to them, guess what they're going to do? They're going to fill them out. And that's exactly what Democrats are doing. I'll talk to you. I'll be on Mike Gallagher's show tomorrow, and I'll share with you a plan, exactly what the left did to win places like Pennsylvania and some of these swing states where Republicans are still have no clue. It's just abortion. Yeah, in part, it's abortion. And that's the first part. The second part is mobilization. So Republicans can still beat Democrats even on the issue of abortion, but the issue is mobilization. And we're falling far short on that, but I'll get into that tomorrow on Gallagher's show. Biden has made it more difficult for a primary challenger to defeat him early on. This is the biggest thing. I spoke to Larry Elder the other night. Go check out that podcast. I believe it's up on Instagram, actually, when I was in for the Officer Tatum. And he mentioned this, and this is so vitally important. But Biden has made it very difficult to be defeated in the primary challenge. And also, it's the reason why he can keep Kamala Harris. Well, it's why Kamala Harris isn't going anywhere. We all thought that he would shrug Kamala Harris off, that he would get someone else. Well, the moment he did this, it told me, and I'm sure some of you in the listening audience, but it told me he wasn't getting rid of Kamala Harris. Well, Carl, what did he do? Well, Biden supporters on the Democratic side, in the DNC, followed his recommendations. You guys may say, I remember this. He set up a firewall by voting to change the calendar of early 2024 primary contests to favor states which he's expected to win handily. So they literally, bye-bye Iowa caucuses. Here's what Biden did. They went completely from the gone completely from the official calendar as Iowa now, which is the traditional campaign kickoff, right? But it's gone. Biden I think he was fourth place. Yeah, it was fourth place in Iowa the last time he was around. Remember, the guy was out for the count. So again, the Iowa caucuses are completely gone. So Biden, where did he do good at? He did good in South Carolina. It was Representative James Clyburn that endorsed him. And, Pete Buttigieg and all these other people that were remaining in the Democrat Party essentially had to drop out of the race because they couldn't get the black vote. They could not get black support. Blacks didn't want to, as much as the left says, when the rubber hit the road, blacks did not want to vote for a young white gay guy. And so you get Biden, he goes to South Carolina and he cleans up with the help of Representative James Clyburn. Well, that's where he's going to be starting. So instead, the calendar begins in South Carolina, a Biden stronghold where black and moderate white voters revived his fledgling campaign and launched him towards the presidency back in 2020. You guys might recall that. Now, here's what Larry Elder pointed out, too. Kamala Harris polls horribly amongst Democrats. She stinks. Here's where she doesn't poll badly: amongst black women. Black women love her. Black women love her. And so that's going to give them the upper hand at South Carolina. Now, what about New Hampshire and Nevada? New Hampshire, where Biden finished a dismal fifth place in 2020, is scheduled to go second, but only because it'll be joined by Nevada, a state where Biden can expect better treatment. All right. So under the DNC plan, also Michigan and Georgia, two other Biden-friendly states, will then follow. Now, not all of these changes are set in stone. As a matter of fact, the Democrats in New Hampshire are trying to fight it and move up their primary process. But Republicans in Georgia could block the move to an earlier state primary date as well. So those are things to watch. But the Biden administration are making inroads in this, and they are trying to change the primary. So it benefits Joe Biden, and he doesn't have to worry about a threat from the left, from a Gavin Newsom. All right. So another thing the left is counting on. As much as we love Donald Trump, we'd be lying to ourselves if we didn't say, as much as Donald Trump has this steady base of at least 30% of voters, he also excites the base of the left. That's why they continue to use him. That's why they continue to cudgel him. That's why they continue to throw these fake charges at him. Alvin Bragg, this chick in Atlanta, Fulton County, that's apparently going to come out and with more charges against them this summer. They're doing everything they can to damage Trump by 1,000 cuts. But at the same time, what happens? Those of us that love Trump, we're like, man, we're so sick and tired of this. We want our own justice. So we want to get this fool back in the White House. That's what we're saying. Those are the emotions. And it's true, because we don't want to see him have to endure this. Not just him, but us. It's what they're doing to us. It's frustrating. So despite everything the left has thrown at Trump, his base hasn't deserted him. His base hasn't deserted him, and he's polling above Biden. Now, again, I still believe the Republican nomination. Listen, I'm just being frank with you. The more people get in, the likelier Trump is to be the nominee. But I do believe there needs to be a fight. I don't believe in a coronation. I don't think that should happen. All right. Just don't think that should happen. So many Democrats, they see Trump. This is their writings. This isn't me. Many Democrats see the disgraced and indicted former President Trump as imminently beatable. They have been down this road before, though, and this is what Axelrod warns of. The specter of Trump, just one step away from a return to the presidency, is both horrifying and unifying. All right, so it's horrifying to the left. It unifies the left, but it also unifies the right. All right, now, and the Democrat Party, another reason why Biden could win the primary and likely will win the primary challenge is simply because of this. They don't want to, the Democratic Party, they don't want to see a vicious battle, and they don't want to see an inexperienced candidate. All right. Excuse me. Axelrod writes as much. He says, so despite the concerns about Biden's durability and still lingering disquiet among some progressives, the Democratic tribe will likely rally behind its aged but tested chief as their best bet to stop Trump again. They're counting on Trump being the nominee. They want the matchup, all right, between Trump and Biden. They believe that Biden can beat Trump if that is the matchup. Now, I think they're wrong as long as we put our feet to the ground, but that's what they believe. Now, I got to read this. Having endured doubts about the age and stamina 4 years ago when he set out on his successful bid to oust Trump from the White House, Biden enters a new campaign relying on the wisdom of another famous Irish-American politician. He's fond of quoting. Now, here's the quote. Don't compare me to the almighty. This is from a guy, the late Boston Mayor Kevin White. Compare me to the alternative. That's the Democrat strategy. Don't compare. Don't even look at Biden's record. Let me put it this way, in a colloquial way. Don't even look at Biden's record. Just look at Trump. That's what they're trying to do. This is their strategy. David Axelrod is letting you know exactly what's going on. Guys, I appreciate you tuning in to this edition of the Carl Jackson Show podcast. It has been a pleasure. Please subscribe to my podcast. All right, The Carl Jackson Show. You'll get the podcast right to your inbox. Also true, if you go to YouTube, if you go to Rumble, all right, The Carl Jackson Show, either places, just subscribe there. The podcast will go right to your inbox. The video podcast will go right to your inbox, but please rate and review it there as well. It helps us move up the charts. We really do appreciate that. And also Google, Spotify, anywhere else where you go to get your podcast, you can check us out there. Follow me on social media, The Carl Jackson Show, wherever I am. I'm on Instagram, Getter, Twitter. So follow us there. The Carl Jackson Show is where you can find me. And until next time, guys, don't grow weary doing good, and God bless you.